On this episode, I want to talk all about new patients, right? I cannot tell you how many times I hear from chiropractors who say, I just need more new patients. If I had more new patients, I would have the practice I want and grow it to a certain level. I always say that most of the time, new patients are not necessarily needed to a certain point. There is a certain number to that and so forth. We can get into those equations. I mean, if you're starting a practice, you need new patients. But if you've been established 5 years on, 3, 5, 10 years, there's should have been a base built in to where you get referrals and so forth, which are a part of new patients. But it's more times, I talk about this in my podcast, like retention is more of a practice builder, not new patients. But let's talk about the essence of new patients as a different way of looking at something that's not talked about like highly. And that is energy. Okay, now what do I mean by energy? Well, quantum physics says everything is energy. So when we look at the science of that, all things is energy. So what does that mean in your practice when it comes to new patients? Can you just literally align your energy in a certain way and they just come? The attraction of what you see of new patients in your office is going to be based upon the energy of what you're putting out there. Law of cause and effect, right? You have a cause, you do something and it creates an effect, okay? Every action has a reaction. So, or every thought, which is also an action, every emotion is also a reaction. It creates a reaction. And so you have all these different layers of these things that are allowing you to either attract patients in your practice or don't. And when I started to work on this, I started to see when patients were low or new patients were not flowing well in my office, it wasn't because I wasn't doing a Facebook ad or I wasn't doing this certain outreach or reactivation campaigns or asking for referrals or all these business strategies, all these coaches, especially chiropractic coaches, recommend doing. And I'm not saying they don't work, but if you want to learn the aspect of living in the quantum, learning how to attract these things into your life where you don't have to do, right? Because all things exist within. See, it's funny because chiropractors who understand the philosophy of chiropractic, how we're a self-healing, self-regulating mechanism, and we help enhance the communication, or if you want to go deeper to this, help express more consciousness throughout the body, which means more life, which means the individual can adapt better to life, which means they thrive, okay? When it comes from that perspective, we know it's all internal, but yet when it comes to business and life and what we do in our practice, we go totally against the principles of what we know that is true in chiropractic. Interesting, isn't it? I always find that ironic. But the key thing is this. You have all within. So if it's an internal game that's creating your external, then you have to really understand that this is an energy component. Now, what does that mean though, right? You may have heard this before. You're like, what the heck does this mean? Well, let's say you find out Mary isn't going to discontinue with care. And then you had an interview with Joe, a report with Joe, and Joe said he's not going to sign up for care. That was two people who said one person left, and the other one said no to with care. Now, all of a sudden, you're starting to get down. You're feeling a little in the dumps. You're not feeling good, especially if you were looking to hope to continue with growth in your practice and so forth. And you get that vibe within you. All of a sudden, that's going to affect you in some way, shape, or form. And that vibration is going to be a low vibration, scarcity, lack, and so forth. And from there, what's going to happen? You're going to start to attract more of that, right? And you start to have a little more fear getting in. Maybe finances are a little tight. You needed those new patients to help pay for things and help to grow that business to cover some costs. And now they didn't show up. The mind's going to start going into this backward cycle, and it's going to start to create downward cycle. It's going to start to you're going to start to have these negative vibes and this negative feeling, right? So what's negative vibes? Those are your emotions. Well, those are physiological responses that you're feeling based off the energy shift that's happening. And so when we understand that, then we start to understand why we are or not attracting new patients in our office. And this is the same thing where when I work with my coaching clients, my chiropractic clients, I always tell them that when you have cancellations or missed appointments, that is a sense of how focused and centered you are in the practice. Yes, I know some people's lives are just going to happen, right? It's kind of funny and this is funny, okay? Not that I did this intentionally, but it would be interesting because it happens both ways where, all of a sudden I'd be worrying about stuff. And then this week, let's say I used to practice in Chicago. So there was a snowstorm coming and we see half our, numbers go down half and all these things. But then yet when I was really hyper-focused, like really, really in tune, not only we get referrals, not only we have some reactivations, people all of a sudden someone's like, my back went out. I don't know what I was doing, but it went out. I had this issue and I thought of you. I had this go on. I thought of this person, thought of me, or former patients. Like, I remember, I had this thing happen, and I was thinking, who did I go to that I can trust? And doc, I thought of you, so I'm here. It's funny, and I sit back and just be going, yep, just attracting all this to me, because they could have thought of other people, but they're coming to me. So that's one of the things where you have to understand this is all science-based stuff. This is not something I'm just throwing out there, or spiritual stuff, or trying to make you feel good kind of things. No, this is science. This is quantum physics, and there's even neuroscience to this, which I'll tie into it a little bit. So you understand that law of cause and effect. The energy I put out there is what's going to come back to me. So if we're putting out scarcity, we're going to see more scarcity. If we're putting out focus and abundance, we're going to see more of that. But when I say focus and abundance, I'll share what I share with my clients. Focus to what your vision is, what your practice, how you see it, what is you want it to become, right? That person, that chiropractor, the person you want to serve in your community, the level of how you want to play your practice. Do you want to be in the office the whole entire time? Do you want to have multiple practices and only be a center at one? Do you don't want to be in any and just have run and corp over? I mean, it doesn't matter. None of these are right or wrong, but it's really looking at growing your practice and serving at the level that's important to you, not what some coaching management group or anything like that says, or what you may see people do. And you're like, oh, that'd be cool. It's what matters to you. Now, that's something that's a lot harder, because being a coach for almost 5 years now, working with majority of my clients have been business owners in my past. I'm now 50-50 with chiros and business owners. But it's even then when I ask, what do you want? Or what's your vision in life? What's your purpose? Just asking these basic questions. It's amazing how we don't, hard to answer that, hard to give a clear, decisive, straightforward answer of what that really means to them. And so the key perspective of all this is that when we look at life then, and we look at our practice, okay, we want to hone in on what that is. Why is that important to you? Okay. That's the energy we want to be putting out there then, because it's more congruent and authentic with you. And then we can play all these different laws, because we're setting the law of vibration. We're setting it. Then we get the law of attraction. This is basically just the law of cause and effect, or the law of harmonic resonance. And then we're going into law of manifestation. You see it physically in the world of what you brought from the non-physical to the physical. Pretty cool stuff. And then when it comes to that visualization standpoint and visualizing and seeing, the word is what creates your reality. You can go to the Bible and say everything was created from the word. So the word, like abracadabra, I speak, therefore I create. That word that you choose and the story you say is what's going to be and dictate your true reality. So the key component out of all this is understanding then how you create, right? So instead, when you see not a lot of new patients, it's not, oh my God, this is happening. This isn't good. Look at the money. Look at this continues. Oh, we have this going on too with the recession, or this is happening here, or I had some unexpected bills, or man, I have loan payments coming in, or student loans, or forget all that. You're putting stories to lack, and all you're doing is giving them more energy to lack, which means you're going to have less new patients coming in, which then you're going to think that your mind's going to get stressed and get worried. So you're going to think you have to go into massive action from a state of energy of stress to a state of energy of lack. So you're going to go do things, go spend 10,000 on Facebook ads, hire a marketing agency. You're going to go spend this on this new equipment because you heard it just makes all this new money. You went to a seminar and it tells you this, and you're going to do all these things. But since it's all coming from a level of lack, you experience more of it, no matter what. I could tell you I had some mentality when I went full time in my coaching last year, that I was like, okay, I got some funds here that I can invest into my coaching to level up to a whole new level. My coaching business, I never had to put a lot of energy into it, to be honest, and it just thrived. And so all of a sudden now I'm like, here's my first year doing it full time. I could put so much more energy into it. And so I started going into that. What I didn't realize, though, is I had a sense of lack in some ways. And what ended up happening is I took action and put a huge investment in, and I got $0 back for it. For some chiropractors, it's what they make in a quarter. And so it was one of those things where I looked and I was like, okay, why didn't that work? I mean, everyone's, I got the whole sales pitch. I saw the 950 reviews. It talked about how well it's going to work for me. And it didn't. And I took a step back and I said, well, where was my energy at that point? What was my mindset? Why I chose that? lack, lack, lack. When I was in my practice and why I wasn't seeing new patients, why wasn't I getting a flow happening? Why wasn't I growing as fast as I should? Lack, lack, lack. What was I seeing? I looked at my numbers and saw how they weren't what they were every week, patient visits, right? I compared to other chiropractors and where I wasn't where I was supposed to be. I started to look at different areas of my life and go, well, I'm not getting like, I hear chiropractors get 50 to 100 new patients a month. I barely get 8. And I started to see it as lack. Financially saw it as lack. I wasn't making as much, or somebody was the same age as me and they're making way more than what I was doing. Lack, lack, lack. You see how this plays? And so I had to realize that, and I had to get real honest with myself that I said, if I continue to do this, I'm focusing on scarcity and lack. And what I'm focusing on is what I don't have. And if I keep focusing my energy there, because where your energy goes only expands and grows. So when I kept focusing, I said, if I'm only going to see more of this, what if I shift gears and look at something differently? And I'll never forget this. I'm going to put some proof of how this worked just in my life itself. When I really let go and really just trusted the process, and I'm talking full let go. I was moving into an office. I may share this on this podcast before, but I was moving into an office that my accountant told me the rent was way too high for where I was financially, and that it was at a number that she would never advise. It was just too huge of an overhead. And I told her that I'm going to double. Let me put in perspective. I needed to double that practice, not only to cover overhead, but to make a nice amount of profit, but it was to cover all my expenses because I took on, my rent went up almost triple. My monthly utilities and everything that there doubled. Okay. I had one chiropractic table. I needed to get another. I had to add some stuff into the mix. So I took a loan out to do the build out and do my security deposit and all these other things just to cover. I knew I was going to pay that back in like 6 months. I even said I was like 4 months this would be paid off. Not for security deposit, but for the build out and for marketing and sign and stuff like that. And I remember there, and I sat, and my wife's like, okay, she was my girlfriend. She was my fiance at the time. And it was one of those things where she's like, is this all going to, we're going to be good? And I say, I go, we got to double. There's just no question. And I had faith within to know that it was. And I visualized everything I'm sharing with you guys. I did all this because I understood the energy I put out there, the energy that I get back. Right. And I started to really practice that. Stop getting out of lack and just see abundance. No new marketing plans, no Facebook ads. I know how to do all these things. No funnels or VSLs or certain courses or membership. I didn't do any of these things. I didn't do any of that stuff. I just focused on who was that chiropractor I wanted to become and really centered there. And we blew up. We 89% growth that year, 49% the following year. We tripled in 2 years. We had almost 6x profits. Not bad. And that was a moment when I was like, holy crap, this works. This whole law of attraction, vibration, all these things I've studied works. I never had to worry about new patients anymore. Never. They would just come. And when time was low and we weren't getting as many new patients, I just recenter my energy and see where I was focusing on. What was catching my attention? I got really present with myself and just got centered and asked questions. And the answers came. And it would show me you're paying attention to this rather than this. You're not having the vision of clarity of abundance. You're not seeing yourself being successful in growth. You're not seeing how you're needed in this community. And you have wealth of wisdom and knowledge in many different areas to help people, right? I needed to have that talk with myself to let myself know. And when I recentered, it just worked. And then all of a sudden we'll turn around. Maybe we'll have that day. Could be a couple people called, 5 people called. You have to understand, even still to my career, I averaged around 10 to 12 new patients a month, but I closed 98% of them in the last 2 years. I had a methodology of what worked for me to get to that percentage to be so high because I got when I put my energy to something or I get curious about something, want to get better at it, I have like this OCD that just has to keep getting better no matter what. So if people say 80% is good, nope, I want to go to 90. 90% is good, okay, I want to go to 95. 95% is good, I'm going to go to 100 or as close as I can to it. Now some say, how the heck did you do that? I have some podcasts below you can check and see how you can get your closure rate up to 93% automatically, pretty much. And then I just had to work on the extra 5%. But there's different ways that you can do that. But the point is, I never had to do any marketing to shift that. So it's an energy of what you're putting out there. If you understand this and start looking at your practice from this perspective rather than anything else, you'll never have to worry about new patients again. They will just flow to you. I have clients that have that, where there's an abundance of new patients come when they understand when they're not at the level they want to be in their practice. They know it's an energy thing. They've done the work with me. They know from a headspace and a mindset perspective, they know what they need to do to reset things, get their vibe right, get their attention right, get their vision right, get the clarity. I'm not saying doing all this is just going to have an abundance of new patients and it's always going to flow. No, because your energy is not, you're never on your A game all the time. I know there's chiropractors, people will be like, oh, I'm always on my A game. I'm 100% on my A game every single day. When I go in the office, I'm 100% on my A game. No, you're not. I can tell you you're not, because we're not robots. We're going to have good and bad days. I focus on my intention and my energy every single day. I meditate and get my tone right and breath work. I do all the things that I need to do to have me be as centered as possible. And yet there are times my A game, and it might not be in the office. I think I tell you, if I'm not 100%, I don't go in the office, but it may be when I'm working on the business. It may be when I'm at home in my personal life. It may be somewhere. It's going to show up, and I'm okay with that, because there's a learning that I have to do. There's something I'm missing. I'm going back to old patterns, and I got to recourse correct and reshift. Your patients do this. Your patients, just because they go under chiropractic care, are not going to be all well and happy and thrive, and it's just going to be the end all be all, and they're good to go. They have different stages and seasons of stress in life, and those different stages and seasons of stress is going to put more wear on the nerve. It's going to put more stress on that nervous system, and it's going to create more subluxations. Body can only handle so much. That nervous system only can take on so much. It's going to short circuit, create that subluxation, and then they're going to start a pattern. And if they continue that pattern, it may have symptoms come back. Does that mean chiropractic doesn't work? No. It means they're taking on way too much and need that support to be able to get that support to help the body and be able to adapt to that stress a little better. Need other tools to help them. Same thing in life. Same thing when it comes to new patients. Things can come in the practice. So what can you do? First, you got to visualize who's that chiropractor you want to become. See it. Neuroscience already has shown that, and I said I was going to get to the neuroscience. Neuroscience always has shown that your brain can't tell the difference from where you are in this point in time to where you are in the past or where you are in the future. It doesn't know what's real. It's only what you put there. So why don't you put something that you'll enjoy, something that you desire to experience for yourself that's meaningful and fulfilling, and do that every single day. And watch what happens in a year. Watch what happens in 2 years. It's pretty cool. The second thing is going to be then always understand my new patients is all based upon the energy and flow of what I have. It's law of cause and effect. Every action has a reaction. A thought is an action that creates a reaction. An emotion is an action that creates a reaction. These are all forces. Quantum physics has proven a thought has a frequency. One negative thought can lower our immune system. So there's an energy component to this that can play a role, electromagnetic fields. And you want to be very mindful of that. So if things aren't going the way you want, it's not because of some marketing strategy is not working. It's you that's not working. All things start and end with you in practice and in life. Third, if there's anything I can share on top of all that, is remember to have fun in the process. Get excited about things again. Become that kid. If you want to learn how to really embrace and grow a practice, you got to get excited. You got to enjoy the things. It's not about, well, I'm a chiropractor. Here's things I need to do. When it comes to marketing, here's things I'm supposed to do. Here's things I should be doing. You're never going to find fulfillment. And that's okay. There's chiropractors who care about just making more. It's not just chiropractors. It's business people too. They just care about making more money. I want to grow the practice and business, and I just want to get bigger and bigger and bigger. That's fine. Go ahead. But that's not fulfillment. It won't be. The money is just filling a void because it's a superficial level. If you really want to create massive change in your practice and in your life, you got to go to these deeper levels. And the way I share this to my clients is very simple. It is, you're going to be doing things that give you fulfillment in some way, shape, or form that you can take on with you after you pass this life. When you transition to your new life, when we pass on from this, you can take those things with you. That is what I work on and what I try to help my clients with so that they can thrive and really lead a more fulfilled life. Because I believe when we focus on those things in life, that's fulfillment. Any questions you have with any of this, please let me know. I hope this was inspirational. Hope it inspired you in some way, shape, or form. And if you want to say, man, Doc, I like what you're talking about, I'd love to see how we can work together. Call with drvic.com. It takes you to the website. It has my video on there. You have my form to fill out, and then you could book a time to connect with me. But as always, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure, please, 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 I beg you, if you enjoy this, not begging, but if you enjoy this podcast, share a review. Wherever you listen to this to, reviews are what get this podcast to get exposed more. I want to thank you again.